Hello there, Nick here. I've just had a very interesting query from a client, and I thought it might be something that you would be interested in too. It's regarding if functions and Vlookup and mixing them. There are lots of ways of doing what I'm about to do, but I thought this was the most appropriate way for this particular client. Anyway, take a look, see what you think.
Okay, so this is the cut down version of the spreadsheet that I was talking about, and what we have is a list of the different clients and what their particular gross spend has been. Now we need to give them a discount, and we want to work out what their discount rate is going to be based on whether they've spent more than £1,000 or not. If I look over here at the table of data, this is a list of all the clients and the different discount rates they get depending on the amount of money they've spent. So for example, client 1 gets 3% if they spend more than 1,000 but nothing if they spend less than 1,000, whereas client 2 gets 5% for more than 1,000 but 3% for less than 1,000. So they've got different rates for different clients. If I go back to the client list, now what I'm going to use is a combination of Vlookup and an if function as well. So the first thing I need to do is to add in a couple of extra columns because I want to bring across the particular rates that each client will get. So I'm going to add in a couple of extra columns, select those column headings there, right click and choose insert, and it gives me 2 extra columns. I'm going to add in some column headings because I like labeling everything up. So this is going to be less than 1k, and this one will be more than 1k. Okay, and I'm going to use a Vlookup here to pull across the data that I'm interested in. So this is the rate that client 30 will get if they spend less than £1,000. So I click on the FX button, which will bring up the insert function dialog box. I'm going to use a lookup, so although it's already there, just to sort of demonstrate it, if I type in lookup in the box at the top and click go, it will pull up all the lookup type functions, including Vlookup, which is the vertical lookup which I'm after. Choose OK. Now it's asking for a lookup value, so that's going to be the information it looks for on the previous table. So that's going to be the client's name, so that's here, client 30. Okay. Now I'm going to lock this in place with the function for key to make it a partially absolute reference. That locks it in, the dollars in front of the letter A, which means it locks it in on the column. Okay. Now the table array is the table that contains the data we want to look in, so that's going to be on the table of data. So I just click in this box here, go down to table of data, and I want to select the entire table, so I click on column A at the top and drag across to column C. So it's picked up 3 columns for me. Again, I'm going to lock that in place with a function for key, so it's a dollar in front of the A and the C this time, so that it won't, when I copy the formula around, it won't change its reference. And so you'll notice that the less than 1,000 column is the 3rd column in this table. So I'm going to go to the column index now, and I'm going to put a 3 in there. Range lookup, if it doesn't find the particular client's name, I want it to give me an error message so I know that there's a problem. So I'm just going to type false in there and click OK. And you'll see that the figure there comes out as 3p. Well, that needs to be converted to a percentage, so I just click on it and click on the percent button, or I can right click on it, and I can choose format cells and then set it to percentage to no decimal places. Okay, that, and that will set it to 3%. If I copy that all the way down, there you go, you'll see some of the clients get 3% for less than 1,000, others get 0% for less than 1,000. Now I'm going to copy that formula across to the more than 1,000 box, click inside it, and then click on the FX button, which will allow me to edit this. So this time, because it's the more than, I want it to pull the information from the 2nd column. So I'm just going to change that number there to a 2. and say OK, and copy that down, and you'll see that some clients get a 3% discount if they spend more than 1,000, others get a 5% discount. Okay, so that's it as far as the VLOOKUP's concerned. Now we're going to move on to looking at the if function, and what we need to do is we need to check that the client has spent more than £1,000, and if they have, then they will get the more than £1,000 answer, and if they haven't, they will get the less than £1,000 answer, or the discount award. Okay, so we click where we want the answer to go, click on the FX button. Now I need an if function, so if I just type if in the top there and press enter, it'll pull up all the if type functions for me. Choose if and OK. Now the logical test, this is the statement that is either true or false. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this particular client's gross spend, and I'm going to say if that's more than 1,000. Okay. Now if that's true, I want them to get the 5% discount award, so they'll get whatever value's in there in cell D3. And if it's false, then they will get the value that's in here in cell C3. Click on there and OK, and then copy it down. And what we should see is this first client has spent more than 1,000, so they get the 5%. This client has spent less than 1,000, so they get their 3%. This client has spent just over 1,000, so they get their 3%, and so on. So you get the idea. And here are the two functions that I've used, the VLOOKUP, and you can see here the lookup value, where the information is coming from and the column it's picking from, and the range lookup is false, which means that it's got to find an exact match. Down here we have the logical test. The logical test is simply checking whether or not the client has spent more than £1,000, and if so, it uses the information that's been pulled into cell D3 by the VLOOKUP above, or it pulls in the information from cell C3, which has been pulled in by the VLOOKUP. There you go. I hope that's been useful to you, and I hope you'll enjoy using those two functions. Good luck with them, and I'll see you again very soon.